but yet here I am trying to act like I know what I'm trying to say when I clearly don't know what I'm trying to say. Hey guys! So in today's video, I'm working on a digital time-lapse, and this time-lapse is actually of one of the most time-consuming projects I've ever completed. So in total, about 5 hours worth of work went into the final piece, and that's not including all of the prep that led up to that. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you there. The first thing I would like to start off today's video by saying is that this piece is actually considered fan art in my eyes, and it's actually fan art for Mika Burton, and she had posted a bunch of pictures on Instagram and Twitter of her with a bunch of deer, and the captions on them had to do with her being a deer queen and how they would follow her into battle, and it was such vivid imagery to me that I found it kind of impossible to get out of my head after she had posted about it. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that feeling, but sometimes a certain idea will get into your head and you'll know that there is nothing you can do to get that idea out of your head except for completing the project that came to you. And this was very much one of those concepts. However, unlike a lot of fan art that I've done in the past, I really wanted to make sure that with this piece I was being very careful that the actual execution of the piece was done in the same way that I would do my own. And that meant that I continued with our theme of developing pieces, and I made sure that I put a lot of planning into this piece. And as a result, it took a very, very, very long time to complete. I'm not really sure that any of my other pieces have taken as long as this one, and there are many reasons for that, but the primary one is simply that I really wanted it to turn out well. And in preparation for that, I did quite a few studies. I did studies of deer specifically because I'm not very familiar with drawing animals of any kind. I typically draw people, and so animals are very much a stretch for me. So I made sure to do some studies of them to figure out exactly how they worked, and I also did some studies of Mika herself just so I could try to figure out how best to get a likeness of her face. I did costume designs, I did composition studies, and I really wanted to create something that really represented the idea that I was trying to achieve. And in the end, I do think I was able to get that. However, I'm not sure that I would have been able to get that if I hadn't put as much work into it as I did. And as a result, this piece was definitely a learning process despite the fact that it's fan art. And I think that's a misconception sometimes surrounding fan art and creating work based on people or things that are not your own. And I think there are definitely times when fan art can just be for fun, it can just be a doodle or something that you're doing because you love the thing. And that was part of the reason I decided to create this piece in the first place. I really, really like Mika, and I really liked the photos she had posted. But I made sure that I used that love of her and the photos she had posted as a opportunity to grow and learn as an artist. In the end, I think I ended with 5 sketchbook pages of preparation, in addition to 5 hours of actual work in Photoshop. And I think those 5 hours really come from the fact that there are really 3 figures in this piece, and I typically only do 1. And of course I'm counting animals, but since I don't really draw animals in the first place, they were even more difficult to figure out how to actually draw. So it was a time-consuming process, for sure, but in the end, I really think I learned a lot from the creation of it. And I really would like to continue working with different types of animals in the future because I don't draw them as much as I do things like people. And I think primarily that's just because I like drawing people. And I don't think there's anything wrong with drawing things that make you happy. But I do think there's value in challenging yourself to draw things that you maybe wouldn't if you didn't sit down and tell yourself, okay, today I'm going to draw something that's out of my comfort zone. And there's definitely a lot of growth that comes from the process of drawing something that you're not familiar with. One of the most difficult parts of drawing these deer for me was the structure of their faces and how at the same time they were somehow very human and not human at all. Because to some degree, a deer kind of has a similar facial structure to a human. The face is fairly oval in shape, although the angles come out in very different places. They have the bridge of the nose in the same way. They have a nose, they have eyes, but they definitely are very different. You look at a deer from the side and you're gonna notice quite a few differences between that of a deer profile and that of a human profile. And because of that, I definitely struggled. I think they turned out fairly well in the end, but I think I also learned a lot from pushing myself through the challenges of something that I'm unfamiliar with. Another thing that was a bit difficult for me with the deer is the fact that they have fur instead of skin. And I wasn't quite sure how to texture fur as opposed to skin. And I ended up using the same brush as I used to texture skin, but I just made it a little more visible because humans have very smooth skin and deer are a little more rough around the edges. They definitely have a fuzzy texture, and I think it turned out fairly well. I also really liked the way the background turned out in this piece. It was fairly simplistic, and in the beginning I was only planning on doing the trees. However, it felt a little plain, and so I added some texture on top of it, and it definitely helped add more interest. And finally, I finished it off with a glowing effect around the figure, and that was just something that I've been experimenting with a bit more in recent weeks, because it's something I used to do a lot of when I first started with digital art, but I've done a few pieces without it. And I really like the effect that it gives, and I think it complements my style. And with this piece in particular, I felt as though the figure wasn't really standing out as much from the rest of the piece as I wanted her to, and so adding that glow behind her really helped to make her stand out. So in the end, I'm very happy with the way this piece turned out. I hope you guys like it as much as I do. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. I find that the longer my hair gets, the more bad hair days I have. Because when I had really short hair, there was only so much that could go wrong, and it really just looked like it was spiky on purpose. But the longer it gets, the easier it becomes for it to just look like bedhead. Wow, that was freaking horrifyingly terrible. My favorite kind of takes. I really want to introduce some more instructional type videos, but I don't really know what people want to see. So that's fun. And I completely forgot what I was going to say.